a combination of popular dissent and the disillusionment in the elite with this handling of this war, I think will provide a combination that will ultimately topple Putin.
Now, the latest from Ukraine is that Ukrainian officials have accused Russian forces of breaking a ceasefire that was in place to allow residents to evacuate the southern city of Mariupol. They've advised people to return back to their shelters after those fleeing were reportedly shot at. Meanwhile, authorities in Volnovakha, their other city where the ceasefire was supposed to be underway, have reported heavy artillery fire by Russian soldiers. Meanwhile, in Russia, in the last few days, we've seen the authorities clamp down on dissent with mass arrests, whilst it's also shut down the flow of information by passing a law making it illegal to report any news from Ukraine that differs from that put out by the Kremlin. Effectively, of course, banning the free press and forcing international news organizations like BBC and CNN and Bloomberg, amongst others, to shut down their operations in Russia in order to protect their journalists. Meanwhile, in the EU and US governments in particular have responded to Russia's invasion of Ukraine with unprecedented sanctions against the country and against the billionaire businessman perceived to be in Vladimir Putin's inner circle. Now, many of those so-called oligarchs now find themselves scrambling to hold on to their assets amid the most comprehensive economic penalties imposed in the modern era. Vladimir Ashurkov is the executive director of jailed Russian opposition leader Alexy Navalny's anti-corruption foundation, and he joins us now. Vladimir, good afternoon.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us, Vladimir. Can you give us an idea of what is happening at the moment in Russia? Of course, it's very difficult to get that idea because anybody who doesn't toe the Kremlin line is really not allowed to express their opinion.
True. A few things that show how the Russian government clamps down on any dissent and on any truthful information. The last independent media outlets have been closed over the last few days. A new law has been passed that would give prison sentences of up to 15 years for disseminating fake information about war. And they have started blocking Twitter and Facebook. So this shows that the Russian authorities do not want true information about what's going on in Ukraine, true information about how the economic sanctions affect Russian population to be spread out.
Vladimir, do you have any idea what the morale is like among Russian people with the little information that they are getting? Perhaps they're getting it just from state media, or they've managed to get some foreign media stories. What's the general morale of the people in Russia?
I think most people have been shocked that this happened. A lot of people are scrambling to get out of Russia. A lot of people trying to get young men out of Russia because it's possible that the mass mobilization will be called. The economic toll of the sanctions has already been quite severe. The stock market has been closed for over a week. You cannot get money out of Russia. The exchange rate has depreciated about 30%. So I don't think it has sunk in to many people, but a sizable chunk is already on the ropes.
Vladimir, we are witnessing all these atrocities, and one could say they are a result of a despot who has gone unopposed in his own country for decades. Of course, he's gone unopposed because he manages to get rid of any opposition, brutally so. Of course, we know very well the story of your friend and co-worker Alexy Navalny. Have you been able to have any contact with Alexy in the last 10 days since the invasion of Ukraine has started?
Our team is able to maintain limited communication with Alexy Navalny. A lawyer visits him a few times per week. So we exchange this handwritten messages with him. He has been quite outspoken about this war and the terror that it brings, and he calls Russians to come to the streets to protest this war, not to fulfill orders of military commanders, and to sabotage the actions of Russian state in any way we could. Our hearts goes out to Ukraine, and we want this war to stop as soon as possible, and the criminals who unleashed this war to be brought to justice.
Now, in your work as the executive director of the Anti-Corruption Foundation, which of course was started by Alexy Navalny, what do you make of the sanctions so far imposed by the UK government on those accused of being in Vladimir Putin's inner circle?
For years, we have advocated personal sanctions against people who are involved in corruption and human rights abuse in Russia. The sanction package that was put in place is quite comprehensive. It's less extensive than the list of people sanctioned by the EU and the US, but I think it's not over, and more personal sanctions against the pillars of Putin's regime who reside and have assets in the UK will come. That more sanctions will come.
And finally, Vladimir, and I appreciate that I'm asking you to speculate here, but how strong do you think Putin's power is currently? I mean, everybody has said that the initial plan must have been to be able to overrun Kyiv within a couple of days. 10 days in, we've seen the Russian effort, brutal as though it is not, it's fair to say, achieved what it was sent in to do. Do you think that Vladimir Putin is going to have been sort of mortally weakened with this failure to get this operation over and done with in a couple of days?
Naturally, this war weakens Putin's regime and brings his demise forward in a number of ways. Militarily, we're 10 days into the war and no major city has been captured yet. The advances of Russian forces have been slower than expected. We've seen massive number of casualties, after 10,000 people just in 10 days. And the economic toll from the sanctions that have been unleashed on Russia are quite substantial. Basically, almost all air traffic in and out of Russia has been stopped, and the stock market is closed. So definitely, people are not. This war is not popular, and they will. The popularity of Putin, already weakened by mismanagement of country in the last years, will plummet further.
We've just been hearing reports whilst we've been speaking, Vladimir, that there have been several instances of Russian citizens fleeing Russia into Finland at the moment, crossing the border. Do you think the Russian people have got it in them at the moment to depose Vladimir Putin, to take power from him? Is that even possible with the way the state is structured?
It's not an easy question to answer. It will not probably just come from mass protests on the streets. The repressive apparatus is quite strong to put out this protest, but a combination of popular dissent and the disillusionment in the elite with this handling of this war, I think will provide a combination that will ultimately topple Putin.
Vladimir, thank you so much for giving us your time. Really appreciate it.